Ariana Grande, I Hate That I Made You Love Me. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It, Music Reviews Season 12. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. We're back with another episode, and we're talking about the one and only Ariana Grande. It's been honestly quite a while. I think the last time we talked about Ariana Grande was the Eternal Sunshine album, which I will say, they had some pretty good tracks on there. It wasn't too bad. I mean, there was some songs on there that I was just kind of like, what the fuck am I even listening to? But I feel like that's honestly what you're getting into when you're listening to 2020, when you're listening in the 2020s pop music. Sometimes there's just music where I'm just like, what are we doing? Now we are back with the unnecessary long-ass titles. This title is so fucking long that it's like, goddamn. Does that mean the song's going to be fire? Does that mean the song's going to hit? Does that mean I'm going to have a good time listening to it? Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Starting off, I will say, this kind of reminds me of I would say if you listen to SZA, and, I don't want to base every time I listen to a kind of sadistic, kind of droopy, kind of low tone, kind of R&B, emotional beat. I don't always want to say it has that SZA sound to it. But, when you're just constantly having the same drum pattern that she uses, and honestly using the same synths, using the same, guitar style, and using the same build-up, the same beat drops, and then, you have this, cool, bass water droplet effect that, that I've heard from SZA songs too, that plays and loops throughout this whole entire song. So you have all of those elements working for you, which, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think this beat kind of struggles with honestly sounding the same throughout the whole entire song. There is not one moment where this beat switches up. There's not one moment where the drums switch up, or, there's a different type of synth, or, I don't know, maybe we put a different EQ on the water droplet effect. There's absolutely nothing that is making this beat stand out. So what you get is the same loopy ass beat that plays throughout the whole entire song. The only time the beat switches up, and I'm going to say very lightly switches up, because, the only thing that switches up is that, guess what? The beat calms down. They turn the volume down. The drums go away for a second, and then the drums come back to finish off the song. So there's not really much to this beat. It kind of sounds a little bit generic. It kind of sounds a little bit soulless. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I've heard way better. I've heard way better. Sometimes you can't just rely on background vocals to help out a generic beat. Sometimes you're going to need a beat switch up. Sometimes you're going to need the drums to switch up. Sometimes you're going to need to use real live instrumentation to make the song feel unique and sound unique. So this beat absolutely does struggle with the fact that, there's no switch ups. There's nothing really holding it together. This beat is kind of just basic as fuck. And I guess it's sad to say, but I really am not a fan of it. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I've heard better. I've seen better. And from Ariana Grande, I've been covering her music for a long ass time. I mean, since I've been doing this show. We're going on to 6 years of this show. I swear I've heard goddamn better. So, even in Ariana Grande standards, this is even generic in that standard. And I think it gets worse as we listen to the song, because the two verses, the beginning verse I'd say is pretty alright, pretty good. The singing is fine. I like the vocals. It's kind of relying on Ariana Grande only doing this low pitch. She keeps up with this low pitch, kind of that old mature R&B sound that I do like, but it is kind of overplayed when you're doing it on the whole entire song. When there's not any vocal variation, when there's not anything really, grabbing me vocal wise. And then once we get to the hook, I am sorry to say, but one of the things this hook struggles with is that when it transitions from the verse to the hook, well, guess what, guys? The hook is the same vocal flexion, the same vocal style as the verses. So when I switch over to the hook, it still sounds the damn same. And it still sounds the same boring ass low tone vocals. And that is kind of a problem when the vocals on the hook is just her repeating the fucking title of the song. And the only thing she does is say the title of the song. Like, I kid you not, she's just repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes that can work. Sometimes, artists can do that, and they can do repetitive style hooks, and that can really work. But when it's the same as the verses, it just comes off a little too lazy. It comes off a little too, what the fuck am I even listening to? It comes off, I'd rather, bang my head on a chalkboard, get run over by a big-ass fucking truck than listen to this damn song. That's what the kind of the vibes I'm getting. When there is only one part of the song that actually has a meaningful switch up, when the background vocals sound really good, she kind of switches up on the bridge to this more kind of R&B vocal-like tone that sounds really good, and she switches up her vocals. They're more deeper, they sound better, and you only get that for, I kid you not, less than 10 seconds. And then we are right back onto the generic-ass hook. And guess what, guys? This hook is played like 3 or 4 times, so this is what I'm going to say is a cut, copy, paste hook. There's nothing different about the hook. There's no variation. There's no switch-ups. There's no nothing to keep me going back, so it's just cut, copied, and paste. And then the worst part is the second verse. Maybe I'm expecting a switch up. Maybe I'm expecting something a little bit different on the second verse. I kid you not. The second verse is the same as the beginning as the first verse. Like, you could fucking intertwine these two verses and they would sound the exact fucking same. How do you do that? That's just fucking lazy. So overall, when we talk about Ariana Grande, Hate That I Made You Love Me, this song kind of sadly falls into just kind of being generic. So hopefully her new album has some more better sounds in this. Hopefully her new album has better songs in this. I mean, maybe this is like a radio single, I don't fucking know. But what I'm hearing today does not sound that good, and it sounds a little too cut, copied, and paste, and it sounds a little too lazy in my opinion. So overall, I'm just going to have to give this song a nice, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn notification, guys. We're dropping new content every single day. And I know, I'm ready. I'm ready for the comments to tell me, no, you're wrong. The beat's not the same. The beat does have some switch-ups. The vocals do switch up. I'm ready for the comments. And I'm just going to tell y'all, you're fucking lying to yourself. You're fucking coping. All right, you are straight just coping. And hey, I guess sometimes we have to do that. But I'm just going to be real with y'all. This is probably one of the worst new Ariana Grande songs I've heard. So good job. Good job, Ariana Grande. Hopefully you come out with some better music and I'll tell her you have a good one. Yeah, guys. Bye.